Okay, interesting.
Hmm. Yeah, we've had our
That's
website.
cool.
Yeah, we've had our we've had our website since 2007 as far as marketing the product, and we've always had a demo online, so anyone can go in there and see what we do. No shame in what we do. Um, so this is what it looks like when you log in. Now you guys are an MSP. So this is the view that you're going to see. You're going to see basically everything that you have in the portal will be listed here on the left-hand side, and I'll cover these things. We have this notes section that we recently added. So like if you have some important notes you want to cover, right, you can bring those up here, right? Like if you have some certification requirements that everyone has to look at, right? Anyway, so those are notes.
Okay.
Um, Now you can't configure the portal, so it shows you this view first. This was our original view. I'll cover this first. This is what the engineers really want to see. So in the portal, we see we've got a couple of different client groups, right? Like managed services, some technical services, problem clients, and I can drill down and see those. Um, we give you a synopsis of all the different objects we have here in the portal. See, we've got 81 accounts, 26 IP networks. We also give you enumeration of the devices, so you can see, like for example, um, how many blade chassis you have, how many servers, and stuff like that, right?
Hmm.
Um, we also enumerate all the services. So if you want to see your DHCP servers, your DNS servers, virtualization, or if you're running virtualization in the environment, maybe some vSpheres, you can define your own services, documents, and
Hmm.
configuration. So again, this is a really great view just to get an overview of the environment.
Yeah.
We also have some dashboards just to give you some quick heads up information. You can list some critical objects when you log in. So there may be some things that you access frequently, or some customers that you want to see showing up, right on the first thing that you see when you log in. So you can go to those. Even though we have searching capabilities, but again, just a quick way to enumerate those things. And these critical objects, if I was in a company, then it'll just show the ones for that particular company, obviously. Same thing for all these other items that I'm going to show you. Um, right now, we're not in a company, but when we go to a company, the data that we see is just for that company. So I'll show
Great.
you a couple of different dashboards. Like we've got the change history. This shows you what's changed. And right now it's set to since last login. Nothing's changed since I last logged in because we reset our database nightly. I'll go back 1 month, and you can see here these are all the objects that have changed in the last month. Now what's really cool about
Okay.
this is if I click on one of these, right, it shows you the 4 items. If an item was new, there'll be an icon next to it that says new. What's also cool about that is if I refresh this UI, I have to do that because we don't have any changes. But since I told it to show me anything that's been updated in the last month, it now shows up here on the left hand side as well. See that number 4
Hmm.
and the number
Yeah.
37. So by default, it'll just show you what's changed since you last logged in. So if you logged in and you go in there, you start browsing accounts, you see a number here. Oh, let me go see what account is new, right? Or what document is
Yeah.
new, right? Um, just a really cool feature to let you know what's going on. Uh,
Super cool.
Yeah, we also show you all the expirations. So here are the things that have expired or are expiring. You can set that trigger date. You can set it 30 days in advance, 60 days, 90 days, and I can show you that later. Um,
Awesome. And
we
you
also
can set up alerts, right?
exactly, yeah. Then you can set up alerts. Now we have accounts, agreements, devices, and KBs listed here. I think you can also do configuration expirations as well. So uh,
Okay.
another
And
cool view that we
what
have.
about
I'm sorry, say that again.
licenses? What about licenses, like license tracking?
Yeah.
Is that an
So
account? Oh,
we keep those anything that a company has purchased and has an expiration date. We keep those under agreements. And
okay.
I'll cover those in detail, but some examples are like SSL certificates, domain names, right? Those would be
Hmm.
agreements. We classify all those under agreements in the portal. A little different from how other vendors do it. They just flood this menu here on the left hand side with all those type of things. We group all those together. The last thing here in the dashboard that I just want to quickly cover is the out of service. So in the portal, you can delete objects and they get hidden from view when you delete them. An admin can recover those, but you can also mark things out of service. And what that'll do, it'll still show them up on the list, but they'll be red as you see here. Um, so a good example of why you would do that, marking something out of service, let's say if it's a person, they got fired, right? Or they're no longer with the company, just mark them out of
Hmm.
service because you may have information about them you don't want to delete. A device, let's say this device was decommissioned, right? Even somebody put decommissioned next to the name. But like, let's say this was decommissioned. You threw it somewhere, maybe in a closet somewhere, and you updated the notes to
Hmm.
show it's in the closet. At least it's in here. So when you go set up a lab, for example, you know where it is because it's still documented in the portal. You know,
Yeah,
ideally,
that's
ideally when you trash it, right? You throw it in the trash at that point. Okay, it's now safe to delete this guy, right? Um,
yeah.
so I clicked on the device list. Um, 1 second here. I'm gonna bring up on our website. We've got this feature list. I'm gonna continue to go over the portal, but we're gonna come back to this. And you can
Hmm.
also see this on your side. But again, this is our full feature list, and we'll just go through these um, in detail later. So I'm gonna go to a company because again, everything that I have here on the left hand side is for all companies. We have different ways to get to that. So I can list all companies here. Um, I can type. We've got a search bar here, right? I can also search here. So we've got a couple different ways to do searches. Um, this one obviously is going to show you all different types of objects like agreements, accounts, companies, right? And here it shows you like how many it found of each one of those. Um, so I'll go to handover. And now you can see that we're in handover. The way you can tell that you're in a company in the portal is because we put this nice little bar around it to show you that you're in the company. So now the content here is going to be less, right? Before we had, I think, like 300 devices, and now it's only at 237 because again, the content we see here is for handover. Um,
Yeah.
what's cool about our menu on the left hand side is that, for example, if this company didn't have any agreements, the agreements would not show up at all because there aren't any. And also for the types as well. So if they didn't have any licenses, licenses would not show up on the menu on the left-hand side. You'll see that other products, they list all the object types that you defined on the left-hand side, and it's just cumbersome to go through them. So,
Hmm.
um,
So real quick,
yeah.
so for this like particular company, there's only one location, but for a lot of our clients, we have multiple locations. Sorry if I'm talking too loud. Um, they have multiple locations. So how easy would it be to track locations when a client has a multiple? Does that
Oh,
make sense?
yeah, and I can show you that.
Like, how does that look? Yeah, I want to see that
Yeah, I haven't
if you
covered
don't
that.
mind.
Yeah, I'll cover that right now. So
Okay, thank
on this left side menu, right, this is everything that we're documenting for the company, right? But
you.
we've got these viewpoints here, which kind of shows you how these things
Mm,
are interconnected somewhat. So in handover management, we actually have 4 sites. You see that
yeah.
there are 4 of them here, and then each one is located here. We even show you a map of those sites. I think the majority of them are in New York. So um, yeah, we've got 2 in New York here, so they're both listed here. Um, now, if I actually drill down into a site, like the Handover campus. Here we see some information about that site, an estimated number of users that you can pop in just to give someone an idea of the criticality of the site being up. Um,
Hmm.
and we give you an enumeration of all the stuff that's in that site, similar to that synopsis that you saw previously, right? So we show them here, and then down here we start showing you content. So here we've got the 140 devices, the 135 contacts. Some sites may have facilities. You can create your own facility types, but these are buildings, right? Some other types may be like floors or rooms, right? So
Yeah.
you can drill down even further and see like what servers are in a particular room, or I'm sorry, in a particular building. This is an east wing and the west wing. If you have rack cabinets, you can define those in the portal, and then you can assign them to sites. And here you see we've got 3 rack cabinets, and I can drill down again and see the servers that are in those particular servers, network equipment that are in those racks. You mentioned relationships, and I said that we do it a little different. So I know that
Yeah.
other products, they show you the item name that is related to it, right? We actually show you the type as well, just to give you some more information. We give you the description. We also have a relationship column, so you can put in some notes here as well, right? So that way you know how it's related. Now again, talking about relationships, these are accounts that are related. Looks like we have a keypad at this site, and so this would be like the keypad that this would be the code to access that keypad to get into that site, for
Yeah.
example, right? And again, relating, this is a site, who would be related, maybe some people, after hours contact, uh, normal normal business hours contacts, right? So again, you can relate a lot of different things to any other object in the portal. All of these objects allow you to do relationships, not just devices, for example. Um, Going back to sites, again, here are the IP networks. I'll quickly show you on what it looks like because I think it's pretty cool. We document for networks. So if I open this up here, right, you see the subnet mask, DHCP server gateway. We had DNS information to be listed here, VLAN ID, and then the devices that are actually in that IP network are also shown. So,
Mhm.
and if you click on the IP address listing, it'll actually sort by IP address as well. So just to give you an idea of the IPs that are in there. Alrighty, we're looking at a site. Um, this thing has a site template, so in the portal you can actually have your own custom fields for all objects. I think we're the only company that does that. So, like for your site, you may want to define maybe who the primary contact is, secondary contact, maybe ISP vendors, right? So we just created this template, um, and we basically applied it to the site so it can be displayed here. So again, you can have templates
Mhm.
on all objects. You may have maybe like custom fields for employees, right? Like employee ID number, or some special information you want to document. Um, so again, you can have templates for all types of objects. Going back to sites, you can specify a diagram, right? So this is a picture that we uploaded, and this is just to give us an
Mhm.
idea of what the place looks like. For all objects, you can have credentials. Maybe the keypad could have gone here. I know this was created after that relationship, so maybe the keypad would be listed here, so that way you know how to get into the particular site. Um, and a map. You can also see a map for Google Map for that particular site as well. So um, now
That is awesome.
yeah, it is awesome. So again, this is what it looks like when you log in.
Hmm.
Well, not when you log in, when you go to that particular company, we give you some information, general information about that company. We give you some, who the main engineer is. You guys said you had 7. You may have some account managers, so you can specify your account manager here. When you guys grow to 14 or 30 engineers, you may have different teams. So you can specify your different teams that manage the account. The main
Yeah.
contact is shown here. Um, we show you here quickly the items in red that are expiring or have expired. We also denote them up here. So if you see a number up here, you should be warned, right? 47 items are expiring, 22 are devices, right? And I can click here and look at those. You can see 22 here as well. So again, many ways to see those expirations. We give you
Yeah.
notes as well. So like if there's an outage for the customer, right? I would quickly go in here and say, you know, outage at site X, right? And I'll make it pop up.
Mm.
Now, you see, I just got this pop up because I'm already in the company. But like, let's say if I would have gotten an alert, I would have typed in the name of the firewall up here, right? And I would have gone to that firewall. I would have gotten that alert, um, even though I'm at the firewall. So that alert will show up on any object for the company. Just so you're aware.
Okay.
Yeah, and objects can have alerts as well. So we're going to go to a device later on. You're going to see a pop-up come up saying, "Hey, pay attention to the notes." So a good example, like for a firewall, like maybe when you reset it, you have to like press a button on the firewall so it'll actually start because there's a bug in it, right? So you can actually do
Yeah.
public nodes for all objects as well. So
Oof.
remote access nodes, how do you get in? So we wrote this, like I said, 15 years ago. We used to PC anywhere into clients. Now you guys have your RMMs, so you may just want to state, hey, use our RMM here to log in, and maybe if you have a backdoor, like if the customer has Citrix or something like that, you may want to state those as well here, right? That makes sense.
Hmm.
We have a scoreboard in the portal, so I'm going to click on this just so you see it. It says 83. Every time you click on it, it kind of updates. Now you see it says 62. Um, Basically, what it just did was at one point we had 83% of our documentation standards adhered to. Right now we're at 62. So there may have been some new, maybe some new standards added to this list. What this actually does, the scoreboard, it goes out and checks to make sure that all these things are documented. If they're documented, they're green. If they're not documented, they're red. We give you a finite set to start with, and you can add to this as well or remove some of these items. And again, these are all just queries, right? So this is a query looking for a document of type BDR documentation. You see that? You can have your own
Yeah.
queries, and it'll check the database to see if that data actually exists. So again, scoreboard is a good way to see if you are actually adhering to your documentation standards because it will check for you. Um,
Hmm.
if something doesn't apply, like let's say this company doesn't have an internet presence, so these two don't apply, right? You can mark them not applicable, so that way they don't affect the
Yeah.
score as well. So what's also cool is that we give you, if we look at the main dashboard when you first log in, we give you the scoreboards here, and we show you an enumeration of where all of your customers are. See that? Um,
Yeah.
basically all the customers that have the scoreboard enabled. So ideally, you want to have these all at 100%.
Hmm.
Another thing that we also have, which is really cool, um, now, documentation can be overwhelming. Ideally, once you guys decide on a product that you're going to go with, you should have a template of things that should be documented for your customers, right? So you mentioned you've got 12 managed services customers. There should be a list, 1 through X, that denotes everything you're going to want to document for that customer. And we have that listed here for you. This is a template that we created. It's called the onboarding guide. This is what
Hmm.
our customers are documenting. We got feedback from our hundreds of MSPs, and we created this for you guys. And you can use it or you can modify it. Again, it is a template that you can modify. So you don't have to use our standard. You can definitely modify it and use your own standard. But again, some questions: have all the sites been documented? Right. Last thing you want to hear is, "Hey, I'm trying to figure out how to get to this particular place. I don't know where it is." So have all the sites been documented? Things like have all the AD service accounts been documented? Have all the name registrar credentials been documented? Right. SSL certificates with expirations. So again, it's just a huge laundry list. You don't have to adhere to what we wrote. You can create your own or modify
Yeah.
these. But you definitely need to have this for each customer. And ideally, all of these should say yes, right? These are all just simple check boxes, right? These happen to
Yeah.
be data. These are check boxes. Again, adjust this according to how you want to document your customers, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, so again, I briefly spoke
And
about
do you, besides that, do you guys provide a template library for other stuff?
Yeah, so we recently added a template library. So the way that that works is, let's say I want to import a template. Um, so we give you the ability to import from file, so you can actually export your templates to file, but you can also import from the cloud. Like I said, we recently added this, so I think maybe SSID will turn the results. Yeah, so we've got the SSID one listed in there. I'm just gonna clear it out just so you see. And we don't have many just yet because we haven't actually added. Um, but I also want to make it clear that, and then you'll see that later on when I go through all these different objects, we give you all the fields that you generally need to document. Templates are just there if you want to if you want to do an extra level of documentation. So again, most of the stuff that we have here, everything that we provide you is sufficient. Some people want to add additional templates to things just to make them um, more thoroughly documented.
Hmm.
Again, going back to the onboarding guide, if you guys decide that you are going to do that level of documentation, like let's say for an SSID, instead of just putting in maybe the username and password, you want to document everything in a table structure, so that way you get that view, with the custom fields. Here, I'll show you what that looks like. So SSIDs, right? We actually have it listed here. Right, so see here, these are all the custom fields that we created, for example. If you want to adhere to that, I mean, go right ahead and go to that level, because you can. And make sure you update your onboarding guide to say, hey, we need to make sure that you document all the SSIDs, including all those fields, right? So
Mhm.
absolutely you can. Our library is not up to par with other vendors, absolutely, because we haven't really notified our customers about that library just yet.
Okay.
Um, So before, when we were looking at the synopsis, we had a lot more devices. Again, now we're in handover management company right now. So the synopsis view that we see here is just for that company. So we see that they have 3 virtualization server when we had a total of 9, right? So they've got maybe 3 ESX servers. They have 1 vSphere server, right? Um, so again, that synopsis view will show you what that particular company has. I was an
Mhm.
engineer for about 20 years. So
Okay.
when I use this, when I used to use the portal for support purposes, this was my go-to, right? I didn't know anything about the company, but instantly I can see how many people we have documented, estimated number of users from all those sites that we looked at. I can see how many sites they have. And just looking at this one view right now where you're at, I pretty much had a good picture of how big the customer was.
Hmm. Mm.
All right, so I'll cover. I know I cover some of these viewpoints here, but I want to cover
Mhm.
searching, and then I'll cover the rest of the documentation. So typically, if you want to search for something, you can use our quick search bar. So like, let's say you're looking for a firewall, right? You can just type firewall, or maybe if you know the name of the firewall, you can just type that and it'll find it. So we search by object name. Every object has a description. You can search by that. You can search by IP address, serial number, phone numbers for contacts, obviously, for email addresses, service tag numbers. Basically, any major field
Gotcha.
will be searched by the quick search. But we also do indexing nightly of the portal. So every single object in the portal, all the data that exists in that object, all the relationships, maybe all the text that has been uploaded, all that goes into an index. And so, for example, if I search for GoDaddy here, um, it'll search the whole index for all those objects that have that match, and they will be listed here. So here we see it was able to find 2 accounts and an agreement that had the word GoDaddy somewhere, right? So here it had it under the vendor name, here it had it in the description, and then here it actually had it under the account name.
Okay.
You can also do some advanced searching. So, like, if let's say you want to find all devices where the expirations are between um, maybe this year and next year, you can run a report like that as well. So we do advanced searching as well.
Mm.
All right, so I'm just going to show you what we actually document. Um, Now, other products, again, their side menus here are just cluttered with all the stuff that they document. We group things, as you can see, just to make it a little easier. I showed you
Yeah.
the viewpoints, right? This is the different views. One of the viewpoints that I didn't cover was domain names. So any devices that have domain names associated with them, those domain names would be listed here, and then you can actually see the devices that are in those domains.
And is there a change log for the domain names?
Changelog.
So if someone were to change the domain name, would it keep a record of that?
Um, yes, absolutely. Yeah. So if for example this device here, it happens to be under the domain, oh, marked out of service. I kind of spoke about this previously.
Mhm.
So the domain name for this device is listed here. You see that? Domain.local.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if that were to change, then this list would update as well. So I'll show you that. I'm going to edit it. All right, we only show one here, but let's say domain.com. I'm just going to add that real quick. And now you see we've got two domains, domain.com and domain.local. So, so if all the objects were updated with the new domain name, then obviously it would just show domain.com. But absolutely, all the domain names will be listed on the side over here.
Okay. So for that one object, you changed the domain name to domain.com. If you were to look at that object or somewhere in the portal, would you be able to tell like, oh, at 2:28 on Thursday. Crap. Thursday. 2:28 on Thursday, it changed from domain local to domain.com.
Yeah, actually 227 if you see here. I'm actually in the change.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, you were off by 14 seconds. Yeah, so we keep track of all changes. That's actually a really good question. We also keep track, let's see a firewall, since we're talking about this. Um, so if you have device configurations, let's say you upload configuration files, we'll keep track of all of those, and they'll all be listed here. Also, if you actually input the configuration as text, because we have a text field as well, you can actually say, well, I'm going to compare the configuration from 2015 with the configuration for 2019, and then anything that's different, you see the fix-up protocol looks to be written differently now in this ASA from the previous version. So.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
so yeah, we also do comparisons like that.
Okay.
If this was a document, you'll see all the revisions of the documents, right? This is a device, so we keep configurations, but a document would have files, right? And you would see all the revisions of those files. Um, if we had notes and we modified notes, we would see revisions of those notes. Again, for all other objects as well, we would see revisions. So yeah, absolutely. We try to keep track of every single change that's in the portal here. So.
Okay. Awesome.
Again, so going back to this area here, we also enumerate all the services here, so you don't have to go to the synopsis. So I can quickly see the DHCP servers, right? Again, all those covered under viewpoints. If you're an admin, you'll see the password list. Let me rephrase this. If you are a password admin, if you're designated a password admin, you can see the password list, so you can see all the passwords in an organization. Typically, we don't. You can enable this so regular users can see this, but we ask you that you don't do that for security reasons, right? You don't want people to be able to export the whole list, right?
Yeah.
Ideally, they should go to the object, whether it's a person, right, an agreement, a device, a document. If there's a password listed, they should click on that password under that object, not get a full list. So
Mhm.
we do provide this here so that way you can run an export, like the admin maybe can run an export once in a while if they don't use our export tool that we have, because you can actually export your whole portal, and I can talk about that later.
And do
Um,
you export it into a CSV?
we allow you to do CSV. We take it 10,000 steps forward. um, we have a tool called Portal Export, and it will actually make an offline copy of the portal, and it looks almost identical to the portal. So you can see here. So we were looking at the ASA from handover, right? Ideally, it should be in here. There it is,
Hmm.
right? And there's all the information. Like you can actually browse this. And this is offline, by the way. I know it's hosted on a web server because that's where we keep it at. But if you had Firefox and you had this on an encrypted USB stick, let's remember this is all your company data. You have this on an encrypted USB disk. You can see everything. I can download the configuration files, everything. I mean, it's everything in your portal for offline use. So.
Wow. Okay.
Now, because we offer that, some people say, "Oh, I don't want that feature. I'm running away." We only give it to the account holder, whoever subscribed to the portal, first of all. We have a validation process. Second of all, once they have that tool, they actually have to be enabled in the portal for that. And we have a setting under admin here. So they try to run the tool. It'll tell them, hey, tell your admin to allow it. And then, they go in here and they allow it. It's not, right? It's been approved. You've been approved, Jane. It's not like anybody can run this and walk away with all your data. So let's make that clear. All right, so we were back in handover accounts, self-explanatory. Some shared credentials should be listed here. Like if you have a Dell iDRAC login, right, that's shared between different servers, right? Ideally, you should relate those servers to the credentials. You can display them on screen, copy them to clipboard, spell it phonetically. You can share it out, right? I want to share it to this person at handover, and there's an encryption key, and it'll email them a link so they can access that. Obviously, this encryption key you have to provide maybe over the phone or maybe a text.
Yeah.
So again, those are accounts. Another good example is a service account, right? You have a service account being used by different servers, maybe different applications. This application here, service account to start service, right? Create those relationships. So again, those are accounts. So here we've got agreements. So again, as I stated before, instead of cluttering the left-hand side like other vendors do, any agreement you have basically with another organization, let's say your ISP contracts for your customers when they're going to expire, right? Any software licenses, SSL certificates, any domain names that you have, right? Here's an example of AOL.com. But here's that note that I just mentioned. Pop-ups, right? You can document those. For domain names and SSL certificates, we'll actually go out there and retrieve the expiration dates for you via Whois. And we also do the primary lookup of the records, the main records, and we also allow you to add your own as well. So this is a key pair value field in the portal. Again, this is just a template. As you can see, it's just a template that we created that comes with your portal. And so like you can add FTP, you can add A records, quadruple A records, service records, text records, and we will go out there and find them for you. That way you keep them documented. And as I stated, everything goes into our change log. So looks like the expiration date changed for AOL.com. It was supposed to expire, on this date, and now expires on this date. So we keep track of those, and you can get notified on all these changes as well if you wanted to.
Awesome.
All right, so those are agreements. Again, self-explanatory. Contacts, people. You'll be bringing these in from Autotask. If your customers happen to have Active Directory, you can actually bring those in from Active Directory as well. We have an import function. So you download a little agent. You put it on their domain controller. You run it, and it will bring in all their contacts. You can schedule it, and it will keep those contacts in sync. You can also do that with devices as well. So you can actually import them from Active Directory. And I'll show you later on, we'll look at devices. I'll show you what a device looks like when it gets imported from AD. You can also import contacts from Office 365 as well. So if your customers are using Office 365, they can synchronize with the portal. Configs, as I mentioned previously, some examples, SSIDs, some websites, maybe FTP sites, databases, applications, right? Again, at the very least, you should document the name of these things so that people know they exist, right? So I know they're running QuickBooks, they're running maybe some CRM software, vSphere, right? It'd be nice to know which that the customer actually has a vSphere server and what the server it is, right? How many times you go to an environment, they're running virtualization, but you don't know where it's at, right? So again, document those applications, adhere to your standards to document vSphere, and then ideally they will all be updated in the portal. Now again, if I look at this, it's very basic. It just shows you, right? It shows you the application name, the description. We allow you to associate it with a device. and you can do a relationship. We've got a full WYSIWYG editor so that you can do, here, I'll show you. So like, we got a full WYSIWYG editor here, which lets you copy and paste directly from Word, Excel, and it all comes in exactly as it's shown in Word, Excel, or maybe Outlook, right? In the Office suite, right? I can manipulate these pictures, right? I can align them to the left, right? So our editor is very robust. You can import files directly into the editor. But anyway, the reason why I showed you this is ideally with the configuration, we have basic fields, right? Again, our editor works. See, I just pasted this in right now. But you can also have your own custom fields if you wanted to. Maybe for applications you want to store maybe I don't know, the vendor name of the application. You really want to go that far, knock yourselves out, right? Create templates and go that far.
Yeah.
I'm not a big, to be honest, I'm not a big fan of that level of documentation. It's just adding more work for you guys. The node editor for me was always sufficient when I used the portal. But anyway, to each his own.
Okay.
Devices, I'll show you a Blade chassis because the Blade chassis has just about everything. So here we got this Dell Vertex Blade chassis. This is actually a very interesting unit. Oh, there's that note again. All right, something's important about those notes. But here we're looking at this device. We see some general information, right? I mentioned sites, the rack cabinets. If this was in a facility, we would see facility up here. Now you see that we hid some of the fields. This will actually be a lot longer. Like this, right now we see five rows. We would actually maybe see more rows if we had other data also populated. But in the portal, when you look at a device, if it doesn't have data, it's not really going to show you much information. So here, I'll just show you. The same thing. Same thing holds true for other objects in the portal. If there's not a lot of data, you're only going to see what we documented. So see here, we looked at a laptop. I saw who installed it, and that's about it, right? So again, the reason why we declutter the UI is so that way you get that information quickly, right? You don't want to have this whole side menu cluttered, so you have no idea the size of the customer. You don't want to have all these fields displayed if there's no data in there, right? So our view is a little different. So again, this is the general information for a device. Ideally, a device should have local login. If this is not filled in, then I would generally go to the relationships. Maybe there's a shared login that's used by all the Blade chassis at that organization, right? You definitely want to note how you manage it, right? Whether you HTTP, SSH, Telnet, PC Anywhere into it, like I used to 20 years ago, right? You want to document your NICs that happen to be in the device. So those are listed here. And then we give you some additional hardware information, right? Like this is a serial number. I can click on it. It'll take me to the Dell website. Relationships I explained. I'll just show you some. This is a Blade chassis. So we've got the two blades that are associated with it in a relationship. And, some other, here's a third-party maintenance contract because Dell doesn't support it anymore. Someone else does, right? You can have folders for objects. This doesn't have anything. I'll show you folders when we look at documents because I've got a pretty cool one here. You can add notes. Again, we have full WYSIWYG editor, right? We pasted in some screenshots here from the UI showing how things are interconnected. So you can have notes. The configurations we spoke about briefly already. Well, those are device configurations. Now these configs that you see here, when there's a mapping between config here and a device, those would be listed here as well. So when we were looking at, I think it was the application, right? We're looking at the VMware application. It had a one-to-one relationship with the device. So when we look at the device, we would see the VMware application here. So the reason why we do this is, right, I decided to document these 8 disks here. If I were to delete this device, it'll also delete these 8 disks and this, this management website, which is listed again under websites here.
Got it.
Switchboards, you can define switchboards for objects. This one has ports 1 through 8, which were defined. Here we see the uplinking switch, right? It's connected to port 1. Looks like we've got some other devices as well plugged into it as well. So you can actually see those devices that are plugged into the individual switchboards. I show you the services and the viewpoints, right? They're listed here. You want to note which devices run what services, very critical. And you can define your own as well. So even though, we give you DHCP and SMS, you probably don't use SMS. Nobody uses SMS right nowadays. But you can define your services. You can also define your types as well. So, right, we give you blade chassis. You may do maybe close CCTV. That's common in Europe, especially the UK. We don't offer CCTV by default, but you can add your own, right? Those are under here, groups and listings. You can add all different types under here. So device types, for example. Let's see, interactions, very cool option here. So let's say this blade chassis has an issue, right? And you work on a ticket. Ideally, you want to keep those ticket numbers in here and what you did. Maybe you updated the firmware for this blade chassis, right? You may want to add in the interaction that you updated the firmware, right? So interaction is just a good way to show how you and a particular object basically interacted, right? If it was a person, right, like you call them regarding this ticket number, that's nice as well. An agreement, let's say you renewed an SSL certificate. I renewed the certificate and I contacted John because he has the password for the account to renew the certificate, right? Interactions are very, very critical. So again, just to recap, relationships, folders, interactions, changes, and credentials are on all of the objects, not just devices.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, so you get change history for everything. Now, as I mentioned, credentials. For a device, right, we have the local login. This is like the first one you want to use to get into it, to manage it. You may have additional, right? This was like a firewall. You would have VPN logins maybe, or maybe you had a read-only admin account that was specifically on this device, right? You would list it here, right? Again, shared ideally. So these are local to the object, right? Anything shared really should be in a relationship, right? Like the iDRAC, because we have to have 10 devices that use the same username and password for iDRAC or ILO. I don't know what kind of servers you guys support. Documents. So I think other vendors do this a little different. We have KBs and documents. They are both very similar. They operate very similar, but in our mind, they are very different. So for us, KBs are technical how-tos, right? How to install a printer. Maybe, hey, here's a SQL script that I wrote to migrate SQL users from one server to another, right? Those are technical how-tos. Those should be kept under KBs. Now, things like policies and procedures. Maybe let's say you reinstalled Exchange on a server and you just want to document that reinstallation process that you did for that particular server. See here, we actually just uploaded a PDF, for example. And here I mentioned revisions, right? So if I click here, I'll see an older version of it, right? This one's called 01, this one's called 1. So again, every time that a new file is uploaded, they're listed here. So again, documentation for us is different from KBs. KBs for us are more like your wiki, right? Your Ignite, as you mentioned before, where you keep general how-tos. Now, the last thing here under documents I want to show you, if we look at the folders, you actually have the option to upload files. We have a drag and drop interface, so you can actually like drag 100 files and they'll all be listed here. Now these are all images, so if we happen to recognize images, we'll give you this little icon on the left-hand side, and that'll actually display a thumbnail view. At that point, you can pick a picture. My wireless is low. There we go. And then you can also rotate the pictures as well if you wanted to.
Okay.
All right. So those are documents. Last thing that I want to cover are the forms. So your use case, you may have a change control form that you want to create in the portal.
Yeah.
And I'm going to edit this so you see what it looks like as far as the fields. So here we define all these different sections. And then under each one of those sections, we have different fields, right? So change control form and change control log, right? Email address, who's going to do the peer review, right? Phone number, product that's going to be affected, submit time, submitter. Again, ideally, you want to fill one of these out. Well, you want to create this structure. Um, and I mentioned templates. Templates are the same way. They have sections and fields. Um,
Hmm.
one of the cool things about forms, you can make them public. So, like, let's say you have a new user form that your customers have to fill out every time that they request a new user to be set up, because obviously you need to procure a computer. You need to make sure you know what office they're going to sit in, what applications they're going to need, what department they're going to be in. Right? You can create a form for all this.
Yeah.
You know, share it to your customers. Maybe put it on your actual public website, a link or something like that. Um, and again, if you make it public, then they can use it. Um, and also, when you make it public, you can require them to enter like a description. Hey, this is a form for XYZ, their name and email address, or you can just bypass all that and just have them fill out the actual form itself. Um, you can also get notified as well. So ideally, you want to get notified on completion. On creation is good. So like they actually click the link. You know, someone clicked the link and they filled out the basic information. But then completion is when they actually like filled out the whole form. Um, and again, you can get notified, or you can specify a group to get notified on those completions. Now you mentioned you have 7 engineers. You may want to email your ticketing system directly. I would just create a free company user account that happens to have that ticketing system email address. So that way, you know, they'll be listed in here as well. So
Okay.
uh,
Okay. Gotcha.
yeah. So, and the cool thing is that once these things are filled, if you create a relationship between the form and some objects in the portal, um, it will actually show. There'll be a column called forms, the same way how we saw a column called relationships. Um, and then they can click on that and they'll see all the forms that are associated with that device. So again, general use case for us internally, we use it a lot for change control. We're going to update a firmware. We're going to update the US cloud, right? We use a change control form. Um, but again, you can do like customer satisfaction surveys. If you're going to check out devices, new hires. So those are some common forms you can use. And over here, it just shows you the last 10 that were filled. So that is the general gist of what we do. You mentioned you guys have Autotask, so we have full
Yeah.
two-way integration with Autotask. All you can synchronize your companies, all the contacts that exist in Autotask will come in. You can import configurations in Autotask as configs or as devices. So we have full
Okay.
integration with that. It was one of the first PSAs that we integrated, so the integration is pretty
Oh,
thorough.
really? Okay.
Um,
Awesome.
yeah. Again, I mentioned our feature list. Just want to throw these out here. If there's anything here that sticks out, you know, we've got about 10 minutes to discuss them. So,
Mm, I I'll look at that, but I think I just have some questions for you to finish this off. Um, let's see if I can pull them up. So I saw this one thing in the actual portal. It was like this said as one VIP. Can you show me that real quick, like how your VIP tracking works and
what
how
is a
that
VIP?
looks?
What is a VIP?
Very important person.
Okay. So in the portal, we would put those as a contact type, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, honestly, I'd actually just like to see how the contact would look for any contact.
All right.
So you click on Alicia.
Yeah. So we get some information here, right? So she's a VP. We show her name. She had a
Mhm.
title would be listed here, right? With the site that she's in. Again, if you want to have custom fields, right? So you can create your own templates as well. Um, yeah. We can do a map as well, some change history. Now, as far as this one isn't very well populated, we definitely have a lot of other fields that you can fill out. Um,
Mhm.
right, so we've got some contact information fields here. Right, you may have an SMS email address, home phone, extensions, right, serial number. Maybe there's a website for this person. Again, you can
So
do.
what we'd want to do with it is assign devices. Okay. It's exactly what I was gonna say. Like what laptop she uses,
Yeah, there you go. You can assign
all that stuff.
devices to her. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep, we've had that for a while now. And
Very
you can even
cool.
define skills as well. So, like, you want to keep a skills library, like Exchange Server, Expert, since well, I'm going to be honest here. This is my experience here. And then Office 365 came along. uh, so yeah, you can even keep track of skills as well. So this is pretty
Awesome.
cool because I think you can do it under the advanced search. Right? You want to find maybe a developer that does XYZ, or I don't know. There's different ways you can.
Yeah. Okay. And then, I think that's about it for me. I think I'm good.
Yeah. Um, Again, this is the list. We've got a couple minutes. We have like two-factor authentication, Active Directory support in the cloud and on-premise. We do on-premise as well, besides cloud. So if you guys want to do, you want to hug your
Dude, yeah.
servers. Okay. Well, if you wanted to hug your servers, you could. Some people like. We have IP access control as well, so you can make it so that if you're coming in from your office, right? Like if you're coming in from your office IP address, like your firewall's IP address, we don't require two-factor authentication. But if you're coming from an outside IP address, then you will be required to use two-factor authentication. Um,
Okay,
we do
that's
full
awesome.
logging. Yeah, we do full logging. So everything that I clicked on in the portal is logged. All those credentials that I accessed are logged. All credential changes are logged. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
pretty thorough.
Okay.
Your customers can log in for free as well, just so you guys are
Okay.
aware of that, as long as they're read only. Mobile app, really cool mobile app. You can actually, on our website, we show you how to actually test it on our demo site. So you can download it from the Play Store and the App Store and all that. So
Hmm.
anyway, I'll let you be. I see that you probably have other things to do. I'm recording this.
As do you.
Yeah, I do. I'm recording this, so it's going to take a little bit for a GoToMeeting to actually encode this so I can upload it. So I'll try to send you that. If it's done in the next 2 hours, I'll try to send you that today.
All right, and it's all good if it's sent to me by tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you so much, Alex.
You're welcome, Zach. Last thing I want to touch on, if you have any other questions, I know you're going to brainstorm. Just feel free to respond to
Mhm.
that ticket or email sales@siportal.com. Okay.
Sorry, say that again.
If you have any questions, feel free to
Oh,
respond to the ticket or email sales at
yeah.
siportal.com.
Okay, great.
Yeah. All right, Zach, have a good day.
All right. Yeah, you as well. Bye.
Bye.